We're Hassani and Danielle Pettiford, and we're a real couple with real problems who almost called it quits.
I was very frustrated. I became very disconnected, very jaded and cold.
We have 4 children, going on 20 years of marriage, and we practice what we preach.
Our mission, to change the way couples relate to one another and teach them the skills needed to improve the quality of their relationships. This is the Couples Academy Show.
Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy Show. It is Friday, and you know what that is. It is the time that we take to answer your questions. That's right, it's Ask the Experts. And the experts that we have with us this morning are Couples Academy practitioners who are ready to go to give you what you need. My name is Hassani.
I'm Lakeisha. I'm Lakeisha Hines.
I'm Angel Hayes. Hey, y'all.
We're going to get it together. We're going to figure this out. We're all here, though, ready to get it and get it. So listen, post your question. Make sure that you get it in soon. I don't know why you guys wait till like 2 minutes before, and then we got like 30 questions. Lakeisha, you know they do this all the time.
No, 15 seconds.
Right? And then they come. So we want to give you the opportunity to do that. We have a lot that we want to get through today. This weekend coming up, not this weekend, but next weekend, last chance weekend, right? And so we're excited because we have, I'm telling you, it's getting full. It's getting full, and we can't wait to really dive in deep and make an impact in these couples' lives. But before we do, let's go to a quick testimonial, because there are those of you who are still trying to consider, should I do this? Is it going to work for me? Our situation is different. I'm not sure if this is going to work. But you know what? When you hear the testimonies of other couples who have gone through the process, it increases your faith. So check this out. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Ari. I am from Augusta, Georgia. And my husband and I came up to Dr. Hassani's retreat intensive for the weekend to experience couples intensive retreat. I can't say that I had the same experiences as everyone else because everyone's experience is different. But when I fully was able to get my full disclosure and was able to fully understand what was going on, not only with my husband, but with myself, it was like everything in me just opened up. There was like the doors opened to a dirty closet that was full to the brim and everything spilled out. And it was like, I could finally breathe. We had times where we were extremely happy. We had a good time. We had times where we were extremely angry, upset, sad. There were tears. There was emotions everywhere. But on this third day, there was hope. There was inspiration. There was a miracle. You come thinking there's nothing that can help you, but you're trying it just to say you did everything you could. But when you get to the third day, you do what he asks you to do. There's 3 of them, it's a team. You do what they ask you to do. You literally are open to the experience and you let it work on you. I can say on my third day, I not only have hope, but I'm excited. I have inspiration. I feel like I have a testimony. And I feel like this is something that I can share. I want everybody to go through this. And one thing that I realized while I was here, which was extremely important to me, is that these people here genuinely want to help. They are genuinely doing the work with you. It's not just you. It's about you and your spouse, and they are actually here in your mess with you to help in any way they can. Open to communication. You feel secure enough to be vulnerable, to find a place that you did not know that you had or that you could reach. And that is inspiring. It's okay to ask for help because you cannot do everything on your own. I was thinking, hey, I should tell my mom to come here. You know, it doesn't, not because her marriage is in shambles, because you get a medicine, an antidote, if you will, from going through this intensive. You get more out of it than you think you would. You may think you have the answers, or, oh, I know all of that. I've watched all the videos. I've gone to several counselors, but this is really different. I learned about myself. I was able to connect with others. People understand what you're going through, and you don't feel alone. You don't feel isolated. You don't feel embarrassed. And I think that was very important to me.
You can really hear the genuineness in the voice, in the delivery of the message. I tell you, she came in a broken space and left with so much hope and inspiration for a brand new marriage. And that's what you get. You get foundation. You get an opportunity to turn things around. So listen, if you're looking for something new, something different, something better in your marriage, make sure you reach out to us and let's set up a call and figure out what we can do for you. Listen, let's dive into these questions. We're going to go round robin as they come in. Depending upon how fast they come in, we'll hand them off to the appropriate person. But I think this is something that we can all answer because the answer may be slightly different. And here it is. How long does it normally take to get over an affair? New Life with Steve Otterburn says 5 years. What is your experience? I think that's a great question because a lot of times when we hear certain numbers like that, like 5 years or 2 years, for some people, it gives them a justification to remain in a hurt place. You know what? I got time. And so I'm not ready yet. I got 3 more years. I got 4 more years. And sometimes these numbers can be a death sentence. And while it may take people 5 years, it may take others 5 months. It's just very uniquely different depending upon what you do in the process that you go through. So I would love to hear from you ladies. What was your process and how long did it take you before you got to a healthy place? Lakeisha.
So it really depends on how much work you are putting in and are both parties both doing the necessary work. So, I mean, it could take a year, it could take 2 years, it could take 25 years. Are you both showing up as your best selves? Are you both doing the individual work that will ultimately affect you collectively? So I would say 2 years for myself. But that was like going hard, grinding every single day, getting help. That was praying, that was doing individual work, that was us working together. I mean, it was going hard like every single day, not taking any time off. And I'm not exaggerating. I sincerely mean that. Like it was work every single day. So I think you determine the timeline, you determine the time frame. It's what you're willing to do, how willing you are to work hard and ultimately to put that mirror in front of yourself and then forgive. So the quicker you forgive, the quicker you're able to heal.
Angel, what say you?
I definitely agree with Lakeisha, and I wouldn't put a time limit on it. Like she said, everybody's different. So are you keeping it hot? Are you guys open, honest, and transparent with each other? Or honest, open, and transparent with each other? Are you sharing your location to break down these barriers? Are there still secrets? Are you sharing your location? Are you Marco Poloing each other and saying, hey, babe, this is where I am? Building up that trust again. That's how I would handle that. So make sure there's no secrets. Y'all keeping it 100 with each other. You know, you're sharing your location with each other, everything. Yeah.
And how would you answer that, Janella?
Absolutely. The ladies are on it. It really depends on the individual. You hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, it depends on the individuals. It's the work that you're putting in is depending on how determined you are to get to a space of healing, how much support your spouse is putting in. All of that determines the work that you put in will determine it. And like they said, it may be 6 months, a year, 2 years. You could stay stuck, hurt for the rest of your days if you choose to. So it's really up to you.
And the reason why it takes at a minimum probably 2 years is because you're dealing with the trigger of the 1 year anniversary. So as you're approaching that, it's not just about the date itself, the day you found out. It's about, okay, I'm approaching the month or I'm approaching the season. And to Lakeisha's point, like if you're not doing the work on a daily basis, they were just giving you some ideas of what you can do. But the point is, there's no silver bullet. There's no one thing that you can do that becomes the thing, right? She mentioned individual work. You know, Angel talked about transparency and forms of communication and do you share each other's locations? Are you trusting? Are you forgiving? Are you getting help from a multitude of sources? It's going to take a whole lot, individual and couple work, to get you to that point. And so if you're just dilly-dallying, if you're just going along to get along, if you're occasionally reading a book, occasionally doing a session, there's some people who only want to go to counseling maybe once a month, as if that's enough. They're not doing anything to work on their spiritual development. They're not doing anything to work on their personal growth and development. And so they remain in that stuck place. So once again, I don't think 5 years is a number we should look at. I don't even think we should look at 2 years. It's going to be different based upon what you're willing to do. And what it takes some people forever to get through, you can get through it in a much quicker period of time, depending upon your efforts. Let's go to another question. This is from Ben. Good morning from Tennessee. I am the unfaithful. I've ended the affair and am no contact for 5 months. What do I do if I'm angry that my wife stayed and wants to work it out? Let me just say this. Ben is a regular. Ben shares that he's an 8-wing-7. So one of the things that 8s struggle with is anger, right? Let's just deal with that. Anger is it's like your Achilles heel. And when you have this anger that you struggle with, you will find something to attach your anger to justify the anger that you have. And so the average person would not be angry that their spouse decided to stay to restore the relationship. So that behavior in and of itself, it's actually a good thing. Her willingness to want to work through this a challenge, even though you were the unfaithful one. But you're angry. And so I wonder, is it a misplaced anger? Is it an internal anger that you're projecting on her because you're not dealing with your own internal struggle? And so this is why, as we're saying, the individual work is so critically important if you're going to have a healthy relationship. What would you all say?
Yeah, for me, for sure. And hey, Ben, I saw you the other night. Thank you for watching, my brother. I just want to say that you do have to get in contact, in touch, go inside, go deep, and figure out where that anger is coming from in this particular situation. Because as Hassani said, I mean, the average person will be doing backflips and cartwheels that their wife stayed. So are you angry with yourself for something that you did in the past, for something that you're currently doing, for something, maybe there's fear there that you're going to slip and make the same mistakes because you haven't done the work that you need to do to prevent this from happening again. And also, every time we're talking about infidelity, we always go to the fact that it didn't start with your affair. Something was going on prior to this affair happening. So if you have not gone back and dealt with that, whatever that is, there may be some anger that you have towards your wife because there was something that was going on before and you guys haven't dealt with it. You haven't healed it. You haven't told her because maybe you haven't identified what it was that took place that led you to cheat in the first place. So if you haven't handled that, there may still be some anger, resentment, bitterness toward her because she hasn't had an opportunity to make it right because you haven't divulged what that is and given her an opportunity to course correct. And maybe she's doing some of the same things she was doing before because she doesn't even realize that it's an issue.
Absolutely. Listen, let me jump over to Debbie. Debbie makes a great point. She says, you need good people like Couples Academy to help you through. They are the best. They all have experience. And that's the key, right? They all have experience. And when you've experienced this type of trauma, you need someone who has been in your shoes. And that's one of the major reasons that qualifies everyone on this show and on our team to do what it is that we do. It's not what we read out of a textbook. It's not what we heard somebody talk about. It's the very journey that they've walked through. And so we believe in rule number one, who do you listen to? You listen to people who have what you want and have been where you are. And so if you want a thriving, happy, successful relationship, listen to those who have one. And if you're in a place of darkness, listen to those who have been there, because they can give you a pathway to get there. I want to jump here. Here's a question. It's been almost 2 years since my husband had an affair. I've had triggers. My emotions are all over the place. My healing is slow, but any improvement is great. My husband is showing up as the man that I married. He said the other day that he loves me more and more every day. Oh, okay. I guess that was a testimony, right? That you're sharing of the journey that you're taking. And we appreciate that. Listen, T, I need you to repost your question so that it grammatically makes sense to me, so I can read and we can answer that. So do me that favor, okay? My wife had the affair and has forgiven her. Wait a minute. My wife had the affair and has forgiven her for the affair? I guess, okay. I haven't found it in my heart to forgive her yet because she hasn't found out the why she did this for us and our family. Okay, so we're talking about the why. Now, Angel, I want you to jump into this because oftentimes people don't get caught up so much in the facts of the affair, but the feelings, the why. Right? That's where they struggle with the most. Sometimes the person doesn't understand their why, or maybe if they think they do, it's on a surface level. Speak to this in terms of forgiveness, though they haven't gotten to the why.
Well, I can speak to you as the offender in our situation and me and my husband's situation. And I had to figure out that why. And that why would stem all the way back to childhood, not receiving that love, wanting love and attention in all the wrong places. That was my why. So when you sit down with your wife, sit down and unpack, how did you grow up? I mean, is this something stemming from the past? Do you have low insecurity? That's something that I had to deal with and something that I had to learn about myself.
Excellent point. Jules says, you want help from people who have what you wanted, have been where you've been. Awesome. Awesome. Jay continues on to say, I can't move forward till she figures out the why and explain it to me. Janella, what are your thoughts on that?
Sometimes people just may not know the why, and that's why it's so important to get help. Because I'm reading a book right now called Anatomy of an Affair, and they talk about so many things that could contribute to how you end up in that space. And if you don't have the knowledge or understanding of that, they may not know. But if they do know, it's important to have an open, honest conversation. And if you all are not in a place where you have someone to help you, please seek out help so you can have a third party to guide you through such a sensitive and difficult conversation, because sometimes you just may not have the words to express that. So if you're not getting help, please reach out and we can guide you all through that process.
Yeah, thanks for that. Hey, Lakeisha, I want you to address this. I feel like after 26 years married and 30 together, and the fact that he's still extremely close with the person he had the emotional affair with, it may be time to move on.
Maybe it is.
Yes.
Because the reality is you don't get to have an affair and still keep your affair partner in our situation. Like, they have got to go. I'm sorry. There's no space. There's no room. There's no opportunity. What is their purpose? What purpose are they serving? Because the reality is everything that you want and everything that you need is in your spouse. You just haven't tapped into it yet. So the energy that you're expending over there, still connecting, talking to, whatever it is that is happening with that affair partner, that's energy that needs to be working toward repairing what we have going on. So it might be.
I agree with you 1000%. At the end of the day, I'm not staying in this relationship to hold on to more of the same bad behavior, the same bad marital patterns that have led us to the crisis in the first place. If you're not willing to change and go through a transformation, then what are we doing here? Right. And I think so many people stay in bad relationships for a variety of reasons, and they're pointing their finger at their spouse. We're saying for 25 years still connected. Well, why have you been there for 25 years? What has kept you in that relationship? Right. So my thing is, if we're not doing something new and something different, it's time to have a legitimate conversation about what the next steps are going to be. A question came in. How do we send in questions once the live is over? I'm usually watching a replay. Great question. You could just go straight to the website. And there's a form that you could fill out and just post your question, and we'll get it and we'll make sure that we address it the next day that we actually have a show. But what we want to do is go to a quick commercial break, guys. You're watching a Couples Academy show. Ask the experts. Continue to post your questions, and we will give you the answers that you need. Stay right there. All right, guys, we're back. You're watching the Couples Academy show. We have questions that are coming in. Janella, this first one is going to you, and then Angel, I'm coming over to you. This is from T. When your partner feels they were not responsible for the breakdown of the relationship and they feel they shouldn't be responsible for fixing it, how do you get them to do the work with you?
Well, the fact of the matter is, marriage is a joint effort. Yes, we have our individual work that we must do, but there's a collective effort that needs to happen. Something got us to this space, so it's not just going to be a one-party show. Everyone has to show up and be willing. So although he may not be the offender, but the work still needs to be done collectively.
So you mean both of you have to play a role? Both of you
Absolutely.
have to do some heavy lifting? Both of you have to participate in this journey? Because, Lakeisha, listen, I know that we've worked with individuals, right, where the betrayed spouse believes that 99, if not 100% of where we are is because of my spouse.
Right.
And so if 100% is your fault and your responsibility, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to wait for you to do something first before I do something. Or you're going to have to do it all in order for me to be committed to this. And I found that even though they're responsible 100% for the affair, there were issues that existed prior to the affair that we both have to take responsibility for.
Right. And it's easy to stay in that victim role because a lot of times people will use that as justification for them not doing their work, that's just not right. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just not. We both have equal responsibility to work on the relationship. So
agreed. Alicia, Angel, this is for you. As being the unfaithful spouse, how do you get past the shame, guilt, and feelings of being the victim? How do you deal with the feelings and emotions of your spouse not loving you the same no more?
Hey, Felicia. So for me, I had to pray. I had to make God the center of everything. And I had to forgive myself first. That was number one. And then I just showed up. As far as my spouse, I made sure that I showed up. I overly showed up. Like I was overly just over the top with everything. Whatever he needed, I just held his hand all the way through. I was his healer. And so from becoming his healer, he was able to see me in a new light. He didn't see the old Angel anymore. So, I'm like, hey, babe, what you need? You sad today? Let's talk about it. You know what I'm saying? And so that bridged the gap between us. Before we had this, in this book I'm reading this book called Not Just Friends with Shirley P. Glass, and it's talking about windows and walls. And me and my husband, we had this huge wall up. And instead, we created a window where we communicated with each other and we were transparent with each other about our feelings. And with my husband, being the betrayed spouse, he just didn't want to talk about it sometimes. So it was like, I had to be his strength and I had to put on my superwoman cape and just be there for him and say, listen, babe, I'm here however long it takes. And from that, my confidence grew, his confidence grew. And now together, here we are.
Awesome. Love it.
Hey, Hassani, I wanted to just throw in here right quick. Renita says it was 6 months for her to recover from infidelity. Thanks to Last Chance Weekend, the Moving Forward program, and both of us doing the work after trying by ourselves for several years. So you see what I'm saying? Like, we're talking about time frames. We're talking about healing and recovery and how long does it take? But what she said is exactly what we're saying. And I want you guys to hear from the people who are in the position that you are currently in. She's saying we did our individual work. We went to Last Chance Weekend. We did the Moving Forward program. So they got support, they got help, and they both showed up and they did what was supposed to be done. So again, you determine your timeline.
I'm so glad you pointed that out. I didn't even see that comment, but that's so true. And I think that gives hope and encouragement to those who think it's going to be some ridiculous long journey that they'll never reach, and they'll spend the rest of their lives soaked and saturated in their pain. And but hear what she said. It took 6 months because of what? We did the Last Chance Weekend.
Yep.
We did the Moving Forward program. We did our own individual work. So you can't get there wishing, hoping, wanting, praying, and just expecting heaven to open up and pour out a blessing that you're not even participating in the process to get you that blessing. So I
For the
appreciate
people
that.
who are praying, God said faith without works is dead. So at the end of the day, you can have faith and you got to pray, but there's still work that you have to put in.
There it is. Angel, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, I had to deal with the infidelity part. I had to take ownership of that. But my husband, he showed up for the marriage, and it took a long time for him to see himself. And when he didn't see himself, and I'm like, man, is he going to see what he did? Is he going to see his flaws? And eventually I had to back up. I had to get out the way. I had to get out of God's way and let him work on him. Yep. And then he showed up, and now I fight for my man now.
But I think that's a great point, because here it is. He was the betrayed spouse, but still had a role and responsibility of creating a vulnerability in the marriage for an affair to occur. And he took ownership of his role and his contribution. And I think if we both individually do that, we will get to a better place. We're going to take 2 more questions. I want you to weigh in on this, Lakeisha. Oh, this is not the question. This is the question. What strategies, focus do you recommend for while you're working on healing and rebuilding, fitting in the individual work, the couple work, the fun, the whole family work? It all seems to get overwhelming.
Yeah, so it can get overwhelming. You're absolutely right, because it is a lot that you're trying to juggle and balance, especially if you're working. You said family, so that sounds like there are kids involved, and there are a lot of different things that you do have to maneuver. But the reality is you have to make time for these things. And honestly, you have to schedule stuff. I'm I'm literally, I can't wait to get into more sex talk on SOS about how you have to sometimes schedule sex. I know that's not attractive and it's not sexy, but whatever. You gotta
Get it on my
do it.
calendar.
Get the job done.
I'll make room for that every day.
That is what it is. Then you got to schedule it. So even with this, you have to schedule that time. Maybe Monday nights is couples work. Wednesday nights is your spiritual work because you're doing Bible study together. Friday night is family time. I mean, you literally have to set up schedules and routines for yourselves to do the work. And honestly, this is what I had to do because I have 4 kids. I have one with special needs. Like, my life is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. You have no idea like what my calendar looks like. And so you do have to schedule these things. You have to make time for it, because if you don't, you're not going to get where it is that you're trying to go. Something will always come up. Something will always be more important, more things added to your calendar. So you just have to make sure that you schedule that time out to do the work.
Absolutely. A question comes, is the last chance only for people who are having issues or in their marriage, or can healthy, loving couples join just to maintain the good health of their relationship?
Yes,
Thank you.
please come healthy, loving couples.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. You know what's interesting? Most people say, man, I wish I did this before we got into trouble, right?
Yes.
And so while most people are doing this in reaction to their crisis, there are some who do it as a preventative measure so that they don't enter into crisis. Because at the end of the day, though you have a healthy relationship, I guarantee you there are foundational things that you're missing, because we all are missing it. Because there's no school, there's no class that many of us have gone through that have given us the foundational core principles. And that's what we do on the Last Chance Weekend. So while we do address the crisis or the trauma or the hardship that brought you to us, we help to build a healthy foundation for a long-lasting, mutually beneficial relationship. So I would encourage you to reach out to us. There's still more room for this upcoming Last Chance Weekend. Come on out.
Do we have time for one more? Oh,
Go
yes.
ahead. Is that the one
That's
you wanted?
the one. That's the one. That's the one.
Being the betrayed partner, I have done more work and put more effort in fixing our marriage and understanding the effects of infidelity on both us that he has or will do. Why is that?
Man, take the focus off your spouse and put the focus on yourself. It is so easy. Again, when you've been hurt, and trust me, I understand when you've been betrayed at this level to this magnitude, it is so hard to not focus on your spouse and what they're doing. But the reality is you do have to focus on yourself, because there's only certain things that you can heal on your own, that God can heal. And so forgiveness for me, I've said this many times, is in 3 parts. If you are a believer, you're a person of faith, It's forgiveness from God first, forgiveness from your spouse second, but the third most difficult is you forgiving you. And there's always something that we all have, because none of us are perfect and we all make mistakes, right? So we all have things that we have to forgive ourselves for. So a lot of times we will project our mess onto our spouses.
Mm-hmm.
So true. Jules says, we did the Audacity of Marriage retreat, the Last Chance weekend, the individual work, the marital work, to the Couples Academy, and then became Couples Academy ambassadors, now marriage coaches. Doing the work makes the healing possible. And and let me tell you something, everyone that you see on this screen has gone through some type of pain, gone through a recovery process, done the individual work, done the marriage work, somehow been enrolled as an ambassador. Now they're practitioners. Listen, it can happen for you, because we're living, breathing, walking, talking examples of what happens when you do what's necessary to, number one, heal your own life, and number two, restore your relationship. Renita says, agreed. When I took the focus off my partner and focused on myself, it was life changing. So guys, I want to thank you all for joining us today. You can find every practitioner that you see here in the app. If you haven't downloaded the app, what in the world are you waiting for? Or go to the website, find out more information about what it is that we do. We're going to end off with the promo for the Last Chance weekend, but we love you all, and we will see you on Tuesday, because Monday is the 4th of July. Enjoy it. See you on Tuesday. Take care.